Hey plant lovers, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and low-maintenance houseplants you can grow, Hoya. Also known as the wax plant, these beauties come in a ton of different varieties. And trust me, there's a Hoya for everyone. In this video, I'll be showing you 30 unique types of Hoya you can grow at home, from the classic Hoya Carnosa to some rare ones you might not have heard of. We'll talk care tips, where to find them, and which ones are perfect for beginners. Alright, let's start with a classic, the Hoya Carnosa. If you've been into houseplants for a while, you've probably seen this one around. It's kind of the OG of Hoyas, and super easy to care for, which is why it's such a favorite. Look at those glossy leaves! That waxy texture not only makes them look great, but also helps them hold moisture, which means you don't have to water it constantly. Perfect for anyone who forgets their plants every now and then. Guilty as charged. Another awesome thing about Hoya Carnosa: the blooms. When this baby flowers, you get these little star-shaped clusters that smell amazing, like a mix of honey and vanilla. But don't worry if it doesn't bloom right away. These guys like a little patience and bright, indirect light to show off. Alright, next up, we've got the Hoya Carnosa Compacta, or as most people call it, the Hindu rope plant. And man, look at this thing. It's like the regular Hoya Carnosa went to the gym and came out with these crazy, twisted vines. This one's a real conversation starter. Those curled, waxy leaves not only look super cool, but are also great at holding moisture, just like the regular Carnosa. Plus, they're super low maintenance. This is definitely a set-it-and-forget-it kind of plant. Now, here's the fun part. If you're lucky and patient, you might see some blooms pop out. They're just as gorgeous as the regular Carnosas, with that same sweet, honey-like scent. But even without the flowers, the foliage alone makes it worth having. Alright, plant number 3 is the Hoya Crimson Princess. Check this out. This one's like the fancy cousin of the regular Carnosa. It's got these gorgeous, variegated leaves with splashes of cream and pink in the middle, surrounded by green edges. If you're into plants that pop, this one's for you. Now, here's a fun fact. The princess has pink stems, which makes it easy to tell apart from its sibling, the Crimson Queen, where the white variegation is on the edges instead. It's like the plant version of a style battle. Alright. Let's talk about Hoya Carnosa Tricolor. This one's like a work of art in plant form. Check out these leaves, green on the edges, creamy white in the middle, and new growth comes in with these blushes of pink. It's like the plant just decided to show off. This is basically the Hoya Carnosa, but with a major glow-up. It's easy to care for, just like its relatives, and does best with bright, indirect light to keep those colors bold. Oh, and let the soil dry out between waterings. These guys don't like wet feet. Alright, plant number 5 is the Hoya Australis. This one's a total classic. Simple, reliable, and super versatile. Look at these leaves. They're thick, round, and glossy, and they give off this perfect tropical vibe. It's like bringing a little piece of the rainforest into your home. What's great about the Australis is that it's really forgiving. It can handle a bit more sun than some other Hoyas. Just don't fry it in direct afternoon light. And like all Hoyas, it's happiest when the soil dries out a bit between waterings. Easy peasy. Next up, we've got the Hoya Pubicalyx. This one's a real champ. It's super easy to grow and has these gorgeous leaves with little silver speckles, almost like someone splattered paint on them. This guy grows fast and loves to trail or climb, so give it a trellis or let it hang. It'll do its thing. Bright, indirect light is key, and like most Hoyas, let the soil dry out before watering again. Alright, let me introduce you to the Hoya Kentiana. This one's a bit different. It's got these sleek, narrow leaves that almost look like little green beans. Perfect for adding some variety to your collection. It's a trailing beauty that loves bright, indirect light and thrives when you let it dry out between waterings. Bonus points if you can get it to bloom. Those clusters of pink and maroon flowers are stunning. Okay, plant number 8 is the Hoya Kerrii, also known as the sweetheart plant, and for obvious reasons. Look at that perfect little heart-shaped leaf. This one's super popular around Valentine's Day, but it's a fun plant to have year-round. While some people just keep the single leaf as a cute decoration, it's even better when you grow the full plant. Alright, next up is the Hoya Obovata. Check out these leaves. Big, round, and super sturdy with little silver speckles. It's like nature's polka dot pattern. This one grows fast and loves to climb or trail, so give it some space to spread. Bright, indirect light is perfect, and let the soil dry out between waterings, just like most Hoyas. If you want a Hoya that's easy to grow and adds a bold, tropical vibe to your space, the Obovata is a must-have. Next, let's talk about the Hoya Mathilde. This one's got these beautiful thick leaves that are a mix of green and cream, super eye-catching. It's a fast grower, so it'll quickly fill out and look fuller with some good, bright, indirect light. Like all Hoyas, it's low maintenance. Just let it dry out between waterings, and you're good to go. Next up, we've got the Hoya Retusa. This one's definitely a standout. It's got these super thin, elongated leaves that almost look like blades of grass. Pretty cool, right? It's a slow grower, but don't let that fool you. This plant is low maintenance and easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light, and let it dry out between waterings. It's perfect if you want something unique and simple to add to your Hoya collection. Now let's talk about the Hoya Wayetii. Check out these leaves. They've got this cool, wavy texture that really makes it stand out from the rest. This one's a fast grower and pretty easy to take care of. It loves bright, indirect light and doesn't need too much attention. Just let the soil dry out before watering again. Alright, next up is the Hoya Curtisii. This one's super cute. Look at these tiny round leaves with those little silver flecks. It's almost like nature decided to make a plant out of confetti. It's a slow grower, but totally worth the wait. It's low maintenance and doesn't need too much sun. Bright, indirect light is perfect. And like most Hoyas, just let the soil dry out before watering. Now, let's talk about the Hoya Latifolia. This one's a beauty with its long, leathery leaves that have this deep, rich green color. It's a low-maintenance plant that's pretty easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and water it when the soil's dry. It's also a fast grower, so you'll see those vines filling out pretty quickly. Next up, we've got the Hoya Fitchii. This one's got these awesome, thick, dark green leaves with a bit of a velvety texture, kind of like a plush pillow for your eyes. It's a slow grower, but super easy to care for. Give it bright, indirect light and let the soil dry out between waterings. Nothing too complicated. Here's Hoya Shepherdii, another unique one with these narrow, almost leathery leaves. The texture on these guys is super interesting, and the way they trail just adds to the charm. It's an easy grower, loving bright, indirect light, and like most Hoyas, it prefers to dry out between waterings. Simple care, but looks amazing as it trails. Next up, we've got the Hoya Burtoniae. This one's got these cool, pointed leaves and can really impress when it blooms. The flowers are small, but they're like little stars, bright and beautiful. It's an easy grower. Just give it some bright, indirect light and water it when the soil's dry. It doesn't take much, but when it flowers, it's definitely worth the wait. Alright, here's a cool one. Hoya Linearis. Just look at these thin, stringy vines that hang down like a cascade. It's super unique and looks awesome hanging in a basket or from a shelf. It loves bright, indirect light and doesn't need much water. Let the soil dry out between feedings. This one's a little slow growing, but it's totally worth it once it gets going. Now, let's talk about the Hoya Finlaysonii. This one's got these big, thick leaves that are super glossy and really striking. It's like a classic Hoya, but with a bit more boldness to it. It's easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light, and like all Hoyas, let the soil dry out between waterings. It's a slow grower, but once it picks up speed, it's a beauty. If you want a Hoya that's simple yet eye-catching, the Finlaysonii's a great pick. Here's Hoya Rosita. This one's got these beautiful thick leaves that are dark green with a subtle variegated edge. It's a simple yet stunning plant. It's easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and water it when the soil dries out. It's a slow grower, but once it gets going, it fills in nicely. If you're looking for a low-maintenance Hoya that adds a touch of elegance to your space, the Rosita is a great choice. Next, we've got Hoya Krohniana. Check out these little heart-shaped leaves with silver specks. So pretty, right? It's like nature's own version of a sparkle effect. It's super easy to care for, needing only bright, indirect light and the usual dry-out between waterings routine. It's a slow grower, but those silver leaves make it totally worth the wait. Now, let's talk about the Hoya Multiflora. This one's known for its tiny, star-shaped flowers that bloom in clusters. Super cute and fragrant. It's an easy grower, just needs bright, indirect light and regular watering. Let the soil dry out in between. Once it starts blooming, you'll definitely notice. Here's the Hoya Merrillii. This one's got these big, meaty leaves that are super thick and leathery. Definitely a standout in any collection. It's pretty easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and water when the soil dries out. It's slow to grow, but once it does, you'll see those bold, beautiful leaves fill out. Here's Hoya Thomsonii. Look at these gorgeous, small, pointed leaves with silver speckles. It's like a little artwork on each one. It's pretty low maintenance. Just give it bright, indirect light and let the soil dry out before watering. It's slow to grow, but the silver markings make it worth the wait. Next up, we've got the Hoya Globulosa. This one's pretty cool with its round, slightly fuzzy leaves, almost like nature's little pillows. It's super easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and let the soil dry out between waterings. It's a slow grower, but those cute, textured leaves make it totally worth it. If you're into smaller, unique Hoyas that have a soft, fuzzy touch, the Globulosa's a great choice. Here's the Hoya Lauterbachii. This one's got these long, narrow, slightly twisted leaves that really stand out. It's pretty low maintenance. Just give it bright, indirect light and let it dry out between waterings. It's not the fastest grower, but once it starts, it's a real beauty. If you're looking for a Hoya with a little more personality, the Lauterbachii's definitely worth considering. Next up, we've got Hoya Callistophylla. Check out these long, sleek leaves with those cool, pronounced veins. It's got a really nice textured look. It's pretty easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and water it when the soil dries out. It's a bit slow growing, but once it takes off, it looks fantastic. If you want a Hoya that's elegant and low maintenance, the Callistophylla's a great pick. Here's Hoya Serpens. This one's got these long, trailing vines and small, narrow leaves that give it a really delicate look. It's pretty easy to care for. Bright, indirect light and watering when the soil dries out. It's a slow grower, but once it starts trailing, it really fills out nicely. If you're into Hoyas that are low maintenance and have a graceful, trailing vibe, the Serpens is a solid choice. Next up is Hoya Imbricata. This one's got these cool, overlapping leaves that almost look like tiles stacked together. It's definitely one of the more unique Hoyas. It's pretty easy to care for. Bright, indirect light, and let the soil dry out between waterings. It's a slow grower, but the texture and look of those leaves make it totally worth it. If you're looking for something different, the Imbricata's definitely one to consider. Last but not least, here's the Hoya Elliptica. It's got these thick, oval-shaped leaves that are super glossy and a bit leathery to the touch. It's easy to care for. Just give it bright, indirect light and let the soil dry out between waterings. It's a bit slow to start, but those glossy leaves really make it pop once it gets going. If you want a low-maintenance, eye-catching Hoya, the Elliptica is a great way to go. All right, coming in at number 31, we've got the Hoya Lacunosa. This one's a total sleeper hit, not the flashiest, but once you get up close, you'll see why it's a favorite. The leaves are small, slightly textured, and they just keep growing these elegant, trailing vines. Super easy to care for, and perfect if you want that jungle vibe without taking up too much space. And the best part? These little guys pump out the most amazing cinnamon-like scent when they bloom. Seriously, your whole room will smell like a cozy bakery. If you're into fragrant plants, this one's a must-have. All right, number 32, Hoya Bella. And let me tell you, this one totally lives up to its name. Bella means beautiful, and that's exactly what this plant is. The leaves are small, elegant, and they trail down perfectly, making it an absolute gem for hanging baskets. It's compact, easygoing, and just looks classy, no matter where you put it. And check this out. Those flowers? Absolutely stunning. White with a little pop of pink in the center, like tiny little stars. Plus, they bloom like crazy when they're happy. If you're after a Hoya that's both easy to care for and gives you a ton of flowers, Bella's the one. All right, number 33, Hoya Caudata. Now, this one's got some serious personality. The leaves? Super textured, kind of rough, and they've got these awesome silver speckles that make every leaf look different. It's like a little work of art just chilling in your plant collection. And when it blooms, man, it's next level. These deep red, almost burgundy flowers with fuzzy white edges. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. Definitely a standout Hoya if you're looking for something a little wild and totally unique. Right, number 34, Hoya Macrophylla. And if you're into big, bold foliage, this one's going to be your new favorite. The leaves are huge compared to most Hoyas, super thick. And check out that variegation. Those creamy white or even pink edges. Absolutely stunning. It's one of those plants that just demands attention. And yeah, like most Hoyas, it'll surprise you with some gorgeous flowers too. These little pinkish white blooms show up in clusters and smell amazing. But honestly, even without the flowers, this one's a showstopper just for those leaves alone. All right, number 35, Hoya Memoria. This one's got that perfect mix of elegance and easy care. The leaves are deep green with these tiny silver speckles, almost like someone splattered paint on them. Plus, it's a great trailing plant, so if you like that draping jungle look, Memoria's a solid choice. And check this out. The flowers? Deep red, almost burgundy, and they've got this soft, velvety look. Not to mention, they smell amazing, kind of like caramel or honey. Seriously, if you're into fragrant Hoyas, this one's a must-have. All right, number 36, Hoya neocaledonica. Now, this one might not be as famous as some other Hoyas, but don't sleep on it. The leaves are this perfect shade of green, smooth and slightly elongated, and it trails beautifully. Super easy to grow, and honestly, it just gives off those tropical jungle vibes. And when it blooms, man, it's stunning. You get these little white star-shaped flowers with just a hint of pink in the center. Plus, they give off a light, sweet scent. Nothing overpowering, just a nice little bonus. If you want a laid-back, gorgeous trailing Hoya, this one's a winner. All right, number 37, Hoya coronaria. Now, this one's got a totally different vibe from your typical Hoya. The leaves? Thick, kind of tough, almost like a succulent. This thing is built to handle some heat and loves bright light. If you're into Hoyas that feel a little more rugged, this is your guy. And then, boom, when it blooms, it's next level. These chunky, waxy flowers pop out in this bold reddish-pink color, and they last a long time. Plus, they've got a nice scent to them. Kind of fresh and slightly spicy. Definitely a showstopper if you want a Hoya that stands out. All right, number 38, Hoya Imperialis. And yeah, the name says it all. This one's got a seriously royal presence. The leaves? Big, glossy, and just give off that tropical, lush jungle vibe. If you're into Hoyas that make a statement, this is definitely one to have in your collection. But the real star of the show? These insane flowers, big, bold, and a deep red color that almost looks unreal. They've got that classic thick, waxy Hoya feel, and the scent? Sweet and strong, like nature's own perfume. Definitely one of the most impressive bloomers out there. All right, number 39, Hoya Skinneriana. This one's a classic beauty. The leaves are big, smooth, and just the right shade of green to give your space that fresh, tropical feel. Plus, it's a super easy grower. Perfect if you want a full trailing Hoya without too much fuss. And when it blooms, man, it does not hold back. These huge clusters of soft pink flowers just explode all over the plant. They've got that classic Hoya fragrance too, sweet, kind of like honey. If you're after a Hoya that's both easygoing and a showstopper, this one's a solid pick. All right, number 40, Hoya diversifolia. This one's got some seriously tough leaves, kind of thick and leathery, which makes it super hardy. It loves bright light and does great outdoors in warmer climates. If you want a low-maintenance Hoya that can handle a bit of everything, this is the one. And when it blooms, oh man, these flowers are stunning. Bright pink with a little hint of purple, and they show up in big clusters. Plus, they've got a light, sweet fragrance that's just enough to make you stop and take a deep breath. Definitely a winner if you want a tough but beautiful Hoya. All right, number 41, Hoya Pubicalyx. Now, if you're into thick, chunky leaves, this one's going to be right up your alley. These leaves are super fleshy, almost like a succulent, which means it holds onto water like a champ. It's one of those Hoyas that doesn't need constant attention. Just give it bright light, and it'll thrive. And when it blooms, you get these beautiful clusters of creamy white flowers, with a little pop of yellow in the center. Plus, they smell amazing, sweet and kind of spicy at the same time. Definitely a must-have if you love low-maintenance Hoyas that still know how to put on a show. All right, number 42, Hoya mindorensis. This one's got a bit of a different feel compared to other Hoyas. The leaves are deep green with this soft, almost fuzzy texture, which makes it pretty unique. It's a strong grower too. Once it gets going, it'll start climbing and vining like crazy. And when it blooms, man, it's next level. These deep red flowers show up in tight clusters, almost like little pom-poms. They've got that classic Hoya fragrance too. Sweet, with just a hint of spice. If you want a bold, eye-catching Hoya, this one's a total winner. All right, number 43, Hoya Aphenis. Now this one's got that classic, no-fuss Hoya look. Thick green leaves, super easy to grow, and it vines like a champ. Whether you let it climb or trail in a hanging basket, it's going to fill out beautifully. But the real magic happens when it blooms. Check these out. Big, bold, deep red flowers with that classic waxy look. And the scent? Oh yeah, it's sweet, almost like a mix of honey and spice. If you're after a Hoya that's both easygoing and a total showstopper, Aphenis is a solid pick. All right, number 44, Hoya sigillatis. Now, this one's got some seriously cool foliage. The leaves are long and narrow, with these awesome silver speckles that almost look painted on. And flip them over, you get this rich reddish-purple underside. Definitely a stunner even when it's not blooming. And when the flowers show up, man, they are tiny, but pack a punch. Deep reddish-orange, kind of fuzzy, and they pop up in clusters all over the plant. Plus, they smell sweet, like a light honey scent. If you're into Hoyas with amazing foliage and unique blooms, this one's a must-have. All right, number 45, Hoya acuta. This one's got that classic, easygoing Hoya vibe. The leaves are sleek, bright green, and just the right size. Not too big, not too small. It's a fast grower, too. So if you want a Hoya that'll fill out a space quickly, this one's a great choice. And check out these blooms. Classic Hoya star-shaped flowers, but with a soft pink center that really makes them pop. They've got a light, sweet scent, too, nothing overpowering. If you're looking for an easy care Hoya with gorgeous flowers, Acuta is a solid pick. All right, number 46, Hoya Pauciflora. Now, this one's got a really unique look. The leaves are long, skinny, and kinda leathery, giving it a more delicate vibe compared to some of the chunkier Hoyas. It's a slow grower, but once it gets going, it's a real beauty. And the flowers? Simple but stunning. You get these little white stars with a soft yellow center, not as clustered as some other Hoyas. But each bloom is special. Plus, they give off a light, sweet fragrance. If you're into elegant, understated plants, Pauciflora is a perfect choice. All right, number 47, Hoya Odorata. Now, if you're into Hoyas that smell amazing, this one's got your name on it. The leaves are simple, smooth, bright green, and a little waxy. It's a fast grower too, perfect for hanging baskets or letting it climb. But the real reason you want this one? The flowers. These little white blooms may look delicate, but they pack a serious punch in the fragrance department. Sweet, almost like fresh jasmine. If you love a plant that smells as good as it looks, Hoya Odorata is a must-have. All right, number 48, Hoya Kentiana. Now, this one's a little different from your typical trailing Hoyas. Instead of vining all over the place, it grows in a more structured, upright way. The leaves are small, thick, and neatly stacked along the stem, making it look super tidy. And check out these blooms. Bright yellow with a deep reddish center, giving them a tropical vibe. Plus, they smell great, kinda like fresh lemon. If you're looking for a Hoya that's easy to grow and brings some structure to your collection, this one's a winner. All right, number 49, Hoya breviolata. This little guy is perfect if you love compact, trailing Hoyas. The leaves are tiny, round, and kinda thick, almost like little green buttons on a vine. It's a great one for hanging baskets or letting it cascade down a shelf. And the flowers? They might be small, but they are beautiful, soft pink with that classic fuzzy Hoya look. Plus, they give off a light, sweet scent. If you're into Hoyas that are easygoing and great for small spaces, breviolata is a solid choice. All right, number 50, Hoya Merrillii. Now, this one is a real showstopper. Look at those veins, dark, bold, and running across those big, lush green leaves. It's got that classic Hoya waxy texture, but the pattern? That's what makes it stand out. And of course, you get those classic Hoya blooms, pale yellow, almost creamy looking, with a subtle, sweet scent. This one's perfect if you want a Hoya that's both a foliage stunner and a bloomer. Definitely a must-have in any collection. And that's a wrap on our list of 50 beautiful Hoya varieties. Whether you're into bold foliage, sweet-smelling blooms, or unique growth habits, there's a Hoya out there for you. Let me know in the comments. Do you have a favorite, or are there any I missed? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep growing your plant obsession. See you in the next one.